Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. And let me just tell you this. Anthony Joshua right now, if he wants to get back to finding a way to win against elite opposition, in my opinion, he needs to get a hold of Lennox Lewis ASAP. Bring him on the team. Now, I'm going to tell you, Lennox Lewis, before Usyk, he was the last undisputed champion, heavyweight champion. And there's one thing about Lennox Lewis. For a man, let me just show you, right? For a man who was standing 6'5", AJ 6'6", his reach is 84 inches. AJ, I think, is 83, right? He figured it out. Ended up in his career with 41 wins, 32 knockouts. He had 2 losses, both were by knockout, to Oliver McCall and Hasim Rahman. And both of those where he came back and avenged his defeats. But there's something that, let me just scroll down, that Lennox Lewis ended up doing. Let's just scroll down. There was a point at where Lennox Lewis figured some things out. I'd say around this Ray Mercer, Oliver McCall rematch, right? There go Ray Mercer, Oliver McCall. Around here, Lennox Lewis had figured out that he had something called a jab. And as he progressed through his career working with Emmanuel Stewart, Lennox Lewis, he didn't just figure out how to use his jab, he mastered his jab. And he already had the big right hand, and he used his jab to stay safe, control the distance, control his opponent. And when he was ready, after softening him up with the jab, he would shoot the big bazooka right hand, and then it was all downhill for his opponents. Now, he did run into guys like Evander Holyfield, where Evander Holyfield, that's one individual, no matter who he fights, the fight's just not going to be easy. Evander Holyfield is going to fight you. But what I'm getting at with Lennox Lewis, I just think when it comes to Lennox Lewis, and you look at all the names of fighters he fought, Hasim Rahman, David Tua, Franz Bolton, Michael Grant, Ray Mercer, Tommy Morrison, Mike Tyson, and then finishing off his career at Klitschko. Anthony Joshua needs somebody like that. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand why Lennox Lewis and the wisdom he possesses as a boxer, as someone who dominated during his era, and someone who knows what it's like to be in adverse situations in the ring, and who knows what it's like to keep calm and figure things out, and to end up getting beyond those anxious situations and take control of the fight again and win. Most of the time by knockout. I don't understand why he's not in some kind of training capacity or consulting capacity to help fighters. I think AJ could learn a lot. AJ has always been open to help, but I know Lennox Lewis has been critical of AJ, and I know AJ gets frustrated with some of the comments that Lennox Lewis has made about AJ, but the bottom line is at this point in time, if AJ really is serious about his career, to me, he should be working with Lennox Lewis. But Lennox Lewis may not want to work with him. But at the same time, I think when it comes to Anthony Joshua, he may just be all about the money. And he signed this, deal with Eddie Hearn where, Anthony Joshua, it looks like whether he wants to or not, he has to fight. And I think that sucks. But, it is what it is. That seems to be something that, he's doing, that he wants to do. Putting the money before all else. But I'm telling you right now, if Anthony Joshua loses again and ends up in a Deontay Wilder type situation, I'm not so sure he can still fill these stadiums, 90,000, 80,000, 96,000, 70,000. And if those things start to dwindle in numbers, you're going to see a little bit more panic from Eddie Hearn, because I'm telling you, Eddie Hearn almost had a heart attack when he saw AJ going down like real estate depreciation against Daniel Dubois. But what I will tell you is, when you talk about guys who've been there and done that, like Lennox Lewis, man competed from 1989 to 2003. He's a three-time world heavyweight champion, something that Anthony Joshua is going for. And he's a two-time lineal champion, and he held the undisputed championship, all things that Anthony Joshua wants to accomplish. So why wouldn't he sit the differences aside and say, hey, I've been asking everyone else for help. Why not bring out someone who's been there and done that? Now, I'm not saying Lennox Lewis is going to make the difference, but he can't hurt. He can't hurt, right? AJ's gone over and turned over all these other stones all around the world. Why not just sit there in your backyard, turn over that stone right there, and talk to the old wise owl, Lennox Lewis, and see if he'd be willing to help? I'm telling you right now, man, I think Lennox Lewis wants to help. I really do. I think Lennox Lewis wants to help so bad. But Lennox Lewis has a family now, and he probably doesn't want that commitment. But I'm sure that for the right money, Lennox Lewis will come out and help. And I think I think AJ will benefit. But anyway, man, some people call Lennox Lewis the pugilist specialist because of what he was able to do in the ring. Lennox Lewis has adopted that title and refers to himself as the pugilist specialist. And I'm going to tell you what, man, when you look at a guy like Lennox Lewis, and in his prime, he defeated, the one thing about Lennox Lewis, every single opponent he faced, he defeated. Every single opponent he faced, he defeated. Crazy, right? Lost to McCall, lost to Rockman, came back and knocked them both out. McCall had a nervous breakdown, but every opponent that got in the ring with him, he defeated. So that tells you a lot about Lennox Lewis. And for Anthony Joshua, he's come up short, right? Andy Ruiz, he defeated. Usyk couldn't figure it out. Daniel Dubois, he was defeated, rematched. Who knows what's going to happen if they rematch? But what I'll tell you is, if AJ wants to be regarded as one of the greatest boxers of all time, and probably the greatest British boxer of all time, he needs to figure out what he's going to do going forward. And I think he should bring on the British boxer who currently reigns in that position, Lennox Lewis. Because Anthony Joshua, he has an outstanding resume. He deserves to be lauded for all of his accomplishments. But nobody sees him as the greatest British boxer of all time. Definitely nobody sees him as the greatest British boxing heavyweight of all time. As far as the most marketable, who made the most money, yes, probably maybe the most athletic, genetically gifted, maybe. But as the best British boxer, no, he's not that. And the more AJ loses, the more I think, I already think it's impossible. I can say it's impossible now, but the more he loses, he'll never, ever become undisputed. He's not getting any younger. Man, the man's been fighting for a while. They're trying. Like, you can see the Secret Society here. They tried to push Anthony Joshua as the IBF champion. They wanted him to beat Dubois so bad. But Dubois had other plans. But I really believe if he had worked with Lennox Lewis, and Lennox Lewis really showed him how to be a big man, to fight like a big man, and use that athleticism, use that skill set he had, and that jab and that reach, and show him just exactly how to use it, how to hold that hand out, and then the jab has to travel half the distance opposed to having it all the way back. I think Lennox showed him how to use that footwork, how to take that little half a step back, go out on angles. I really think Lennox Lewis could have helped AJ get that win over Dubois. But at the same time, when you got guys doing Nigerian voodoo, I'm not so sure Lennox Lewis, although his mother and father Jamaican, and out there in the West Indies, my people from Trinidad, people be casting obeah on you and shit. I know I've been up to them Shango tents. I've seen shit happen. That's a whole nother story. But the bottom line is, I'm just not so sure. I'm just not so sure what direction AJ's gonna go. But I do think if he wants to be really up there as one of the greatest British boxing heavyweights of all time, if not the greatest British boxing heavyweight, he got a lot of work to do. And I don't. We're talking about the greatest comeback that we've ever seen. I don't know if AJ has enough time left to really mount an outstanding, beyond comprehension, a comeback to really come and say that him beating Dubois, beating Usyk, beating Fury, beating Wilder, beating Bacoli, like, you understand what you're asking this man to do? You know, that's a huge mountain for him to try to overcome, man. Now, if he can do that, then yeah, he's up there. Then he's up there. But even if he comes back and beats Dubois, because Dubois, in my opinion, he's reckless. Dubois just comes in and just all gas, no brakes, and starts brawling. He does little subtle things, but Dubois is just looking for the mashup crasher. You have your timing and your spacing and everything right. You catch Dubois, and Dubois can be knocked out. But if he gets beyond Dubois, let's say he fights Wilder. He beats Wilder. I think most of us think he should beat Wilder, right? But with a chin like that, if Wilder can at least get the right hand off, you never know what can happen. But I think most people would favor AJ. Fighting Fury, I think people are split. I think it's like 65% Fury, 35% AJ. But let's say he beats Fury, right? Those are three fights where, it's still hard to say AJ wins. But then if he beats them and he goes and fights Usyk, hard to say he wins. But let's say he beats all of them and Usyk, and you want to throw him in with Bacoli. I think the buck stops there. We need to hold our horses and not take it to the stupid. The bottom line is, what AJ needs to do to reverse the direction his career is going and to really get him to kind of surpass what Lennox Lewis has done, and to get the boxing pundits out there and the people who really matter when giving an opinion on boxing to say AJ is the best British heavyweight boxer ever. I just don't think he can do it. I'm being honest with you. You know why? He got too much money. One thing about Lennox Lewis, he never looked like the money affected him. Lewis fought until he realized it was time for him to go. He made a whole lot of money. But he never looked like the money affected him. Lennox never looked like, I'm making too much money for this. Whatever happened in that Klitschko fight happened, but he knew it was time to go. He didn't hang around any longer to allow boxing to retire him. And I think AJ is at the point where he may be in a position where he's going to allow the sport to retire him, and I just don't think that's what we need from him. I don't think that's what he needs or what we need to see. Anyway, if he is going to continue, in my opinion, he needs to bring Lennox Lewis on board. Just try it. Can't get no worse than what it is already. In the breeze.